Today I'm going to show you how to make the best baked pork tenderloin. So when it comes to cooking pork, it can be kind of tricky, but a pork tenderloin is one of my absolute favorites. And baking it, make sure that it does not get overcooked and it's perfect every time. Today I'm going to show you this super simple recipe. I bet you have all the ingredients already in your pantry. It's just a few easy ingredients and pork tenderloin, and it's super easy to make. Hi, I'm Christina with eatingonadime.com. You can get the link to today's full recipe in the description below, or if you're having trouble finding it, just go to eatingonadime.com and search pork tenderloin. This recipe will pull up and some more of our great, fabulous pork recipes. All right, let's get started with this easy and delicious recipe. So for today's recipe, we are using a pork tenderloin. When you go to your grocery store and pick this out, it will be in the pork section. Make sure that you get a tenderloin. It's gonna be like long and skinny. Sometimes there's 2 to a pack and that works great because they're skinny cuts of pork. We find these to be more tender and more moist. Make sure you do not get a pork loin. That's going to be like a big chunk of pork that's going to look similar to a roast. So make sure you get the right thing. Also, at my grocery store, they sell these a lot with like a pre-seasoning mix on them or a marinade. Just get the plain ones. We're going to add our own easy marinade. You don't need to pay that high price tag for something that we can easily do at home in minutes. First, we're going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. This is going to be a great time to make sure that it gets nice and cooked, but still moist. So you will need a pan for this recipe. I'm just going to use a baking sheet because we're going to wrap the pork tenderloin in foil. So a baking sheet will work, a 9x13 baking dish, whatever your pork tenderloin will sit in and not fold up on itself. So you want it big enough for that. I find that a baking sheet is the best. So start with some foil. Oh. You just want to get a big piece of foil, and we're going to put the pork right in the center. So you want it to be big enough where it will go around your pork tenderloin. Since mine is 2, I'm going to put it in the same piece of foil. We just want to make sure that there is some space in between them so that the heat can cook the sides and all the way around. We're not wanting a super tight foil packet, so you want it kind of loose. Check out the spacing there on that. Perfect. Next, rub the pork tenderloin with some olive oil. Any type of your favorite cooking oil will work for this. We just always have olive oil in our kitchen, so it works great, but you could also use avocado oil, and that would work awesome as well. You just want to make sure you get the tops and all sides so that the seasoning mixture sticks well to the pork tenderloin. Then we are going to prepare our seasoning mixture. We are going to start with a ½ teaspoon of paprika. Just put this in a small bowl and we're going to stir it all together. Then we're going to do a teaspoon of an Italian seasoning mix. Now we just buy this at our local grocery store. It's literally called Italian seasoning mix. If they do not have that at your grocery store, we are linking in the description below for a homemade recipe that's easy to make at home. And then add a teaspoon each of salt and pepper. We just use a classic black pepper. And then stir it all together. Then you want to sprinkle the seasoning mixture evenly as possible. Don't stress out about it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Over the pork tenderloin. That olive oil should help it stick, and you can use your basting brush to kind of rub it into the pork if you prefer. It already smells good. Let me show you guys. So you can take your basting brush that still has a little olive oil and you can just rub it to make sure that seasoning stays onto the pork. Then we're gonna top it with a little bit of lemon. This lemon adds a ton of flavor and makes it lighter and so delicious. So don't skip this step. I love using a lemon juicer. We're gonna put a link to purchase this below. This comes in so handy, and I've had mine for years, so it lasts forever. And it's at a really good price point. So, ooh, I'm just gonna do a half over each tenderloin so that it gets all that delicious lemon flavor. When you use your lemon juicer, I always did this wrong. I always put it in here. You wanna put the cut side down so you get all the juice onto your tenderloin. Perfect. Then we're gonna top it with a little bit of butter. You need 4 tablespoons of butter for this recipe, which is about a half of a whole stick. I do recommend the stick butter because it's easier to work with. Go ahead and unwrap it and then cut it into little tiny slabs of butter. Let me move this out of the way and show you guys. It doesn't matter how many. This is nice and soft, so it gets pretty easy to cut. And they don't have to be the perfect size or anything, because this is gonna melt down when it cooks, and it's just gonna make sure that that pork stays tender and juicy while it's baking in the oven. Ooh, it adds a lot of flavor. Okay. Cut into slabs, and then you just wanna place it on top of your pork tenderloins, just right on top. Okay, now we're going to wrap it and seal the foil around the pork tenderloin to make like a foil pack. You don't want it super tight. Remember, we're gonna keep our spacing in our pork tenderloin. So I just knead them at the top and then fold it over to create a seal. We are gonna create a seal because when it bakes, it helps cook it and keep it tender and delicious. And then just seal in your ends like that to make a perfect little foil pack. All right, this is gonna go off into the oven. Let's go. Then we're going to bake it for 25 to 30 minutes until the pork reaches an internal temperature of 145 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's the key. I'm gonna start checking the pork at the lowest end of the cook time because we don't wanna risk overcooking it and having it dry out. So it's been cooking for about 25 minutes now, and we want to check the temperature. We're going to use an instant read meat thermometer, but we do need to get the foil open to get access to the pork. So just be really careful because it is hot, and I just open it up a little bit so I can get in there. Oh, I might have to use my fingers a little bit just because it's sealed so well. Just be really careful. Perfect. So you can also use tongs as well to get it open. We are going to use an instant read meat thermometer. We will put a link to the description below. This is like the most helpful kitchen tool. I love it. So you want to insert it into the middle of the thickest of the pork tenderloin. This one is this thickest. We're going to sit it right in the middle, and we're looking for a reading of over 145. So this is over 145. It's reading about 153, 154. So this is done. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out of the oven. So once you pull it out, we want to open this all the way up. We're going to broil the tenderloin slightly just for a couple minutes to brown it. It just gives it nice color and adds a lot of flavor, but you want to go ahead and get the foil all opened up, and then we're going to put it back in the oven and broil it for a couple minutes. All right, go ahead and slide it back in. So when you broil this for a couple minutes, you want to watch it closely so that it doesn't burn and the foil doesn't catch on fire. So I ended up moving it a little bit closer so that it will broil faster, and you can see it's nice and golden brown on top. It's just been in there about 3 to 4 minutes, and that's all. Perfect. So when you pull it out of the oven, you'll see all the juices. This is why we like to put it in foil, because it makes sure that all that juice stays in there and just the pork soaks it back up, and it tastes amazing. It already smells and looks great. Before you slice the pork, you want to let it rest for about 5 to 10 minutes. So what I mean by letting it rest is just let it set on your countertop. You can loosely cover it with foil so that no animals or flies or anything like that get on it. But we just want it to let it set there for 5 to 10 minutes, and that's gonna make sure that it keeps all the juices intact when we go to slice it. So it's gonna rest and we'll be back soon. It's all rested and ready to slice. So I moved the pork tenderloin to a cutting board. Perfect. And you want to use a serrated knife, aka a bumpy knife. Some people call it a bread knife, whatever it is. It works great. So I like using this knife over a straight knife because it's going to make sure that your pork tenderloin doesn't shred, and it's going to slice into beautiful thick slices. I usually do, I would just cut however thick that you want them. I'm usually do about 1/2 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch thick, and it's perfect every time. I use tongs to hold it still. You start at one end and just cut it all the way through. Just go ahead and slice it. Ooh, and it looks beautiful. So let's go ahead and slice the second one. Same thing, just hold it still. Perfect. So when I serve it, I usually do about 4 to 5 slices depending on how hungry you are. I just put it on a plate and then I drizzle it with the juice left over from the foil because it adds a lot of flavor. I usually get a big spoon and just drizzle it right on top. Let's talk about what to serve with this pork tenderloin. The best thing is that it's super versatile, so whatever side you're craving is gonna go great with this. This juice would just be amazing over regular steamed rice, and the pork over rice would taste great. It would also be great over mashed potatoes, or some egg noodles would be awesome as well. So whatever type of side you're craving, just whip that up and it's gonna go great with this pork tenderloin. Now, if you're following like a low carb, keto diet, this is going to be great with just a bunch of delicious roasted vegetables. You could even pour that juice on the vegetables and it's going to taste amazing and awesome as well. Let's talk about leftovers. Now, usually when I make pork tenderloin, there's never any leftovers because it's so good and everyone just eats it up. And I do love it fresh because it's so nice and tender and juicy and amazing. However, if you do have any leftovers, you can refrigerate it. It will last for probably up to 5 days. You just want to be careful when reheating so that you don't dry it out. So just watch it closely. I usually just reheat it in the microwave and just do the minimal amount of time to heat it through so it doesn't dry that pork out and it still has amazing flavor. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I cannot wait for you to try this really delicious and easy baked pork tenderloin recipe. Once you try it, make sure to let us know what you think in the comments. We love hearing what you guys think about our easy recipes. Also, do not forget, the link is in the description so that you can find all of our tips, tricks. We've also included great serving sides and things like that for you to review as well. And of course, do not forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any more of our delicious, easy, and family-friendly recipes. Thank you guys so much for joining me today in my sister's kitchen, and I will see you guys next time. I cannot wait to try this. Woo! I gotta get some of the juice. Bye, friends. Amazing.